Movies. If there's one thing we all love in cinema, it's watching the development of heroes and the villains that hate them. One thing I always took notice of is when a bad guy was particularly cruel or manipulating. I've always believed that the more maniacal, the better. Which is why today, I bring you the top 10 most hateable villains in cinema. Number 10. Justin from Death at a Funeral. For those who haven't seen it, Death at a Funeral is a British black comedy made in 2007 that was remade into an American black comedy in 2010. And even with its hilarious cast, one character in particular always stood out to me. Justin is an absolute hound, always attempting to hit on the girlfriend of one of the main characters, even though they have been in a long committed relationship. And why is that? Because they had a brief fling a long time ago. He's the definition of scum, and the only reason he is so far down the list is because of how recent the movie is. But he is truly a despicable character. Not much different from our number 9 guy. Number 9. Justin Hammer from Iron Man 2. Now, where our number 10 excelled at sexual deviance, Justin Hammer was a pro at business deviance. Being the main competition to Stark Industries, he is always at odds with Tony Stark, both personally and professionally. After being blown off a few too many times, he decided to push things a little too far, hiring a convicted criminal and using designs stolen from Tony himself for his own gain. And even though he gets his comeuppance, I personally don't think it's enough. Don't you think a person indirectly responsible for endangering the entire city would at least get roughed up a bit? Number 8. Kano from Mortal Kombat. Man, just looking at this guy makes me feel dirty. Though Mortal Kombat has been widely panned as a bad movie, I still think it's a good, mindless action flick. And near the center of it all is Kano, portrayed by Trevor Goddard. He plays a dirty Australian with an expansive criminal record and a smug sense of entitlement from being Shang Tsung's pet. Every scene with him in it just makes you want to see him die more and more, and by this scene you want to kill him yourself.
See me, I believe in a fair fight. You know, one-on-one, man-to-man, hand-to-hand. Just like my daddy told me.
Kano is the scum of the earth and we love to hate him for it. Number 7. John Doe from 7. While the last 3 entries have been kinda campy and played more for comedy, John Doe stands on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. He's a cold, calculating individual, never seeing any good in society and deciding to take his own twisted revenge. His cruelty is unmatched, and all he seems to want to do is drive the person searching for him to madness, and he plans out every second of it in a smug sense of self-righteousness. Truly a villain if I ever saw one. Number 6. Jafar from Aladdin. Oh, this is one bad dude. He seems dark even for a kid's film. He's a conniving individual who only has one goal: marry the princess and become the sultan. And he does anything he can to get to the goal, including brainwashing, endangering and attempting to kill a kid, and everything short of raping a princess he's after. And he does it in a suave manner which just makes you want to see him set on fire. Though, with how greasy he seems, it would probably cause an oil explosion. Number 5. Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter and the Order of the Pheonix. Ah, Mrs. Umbridge. By the time the 5th Harry Potter book rolled around, J.K. Rowling had already started making the series much darker and adult-oriented, and Dolores perfectly personifies this. She is explained as very toad-like and slimy, and the movie brings that on very well. While she mostly acts on her own behalf and to better her own standing, she sometimes acts on sheer cruelty, to attack someone she doesn't like. Though the literary version makes her seem a lot darker and evil, the cinematic version portrays that well too. Having her use her powers like a dictatorship and freaking out even at the slightest form of disobedience. Oh, she's also a teensy bit racist. Number 4. Cruella De Vil from 101 Dalmatians. Do I even need to say anything about her? Her name is fucking Cruella De Vil. For those who might not have caught it, her name is a play on the words cruel and devil, and she lives up to that name wholeheartedly. For God's sake, her whole motivation is killing a collection of Dalmatian puppies and using their fur as a coat, which I really have to question the motivation of. Wouldn't the fur be a little too short to even put into a coat? But I digress. Cruella De Vil is an evil, evil lady. So evil that she forced Dr. House and Arthur Weasley to do her dirty work. Truly an evil woman. Number 3. Judge Frollo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Judge Frollo is a pretty good example of the bad aspects in humanity and is a statement of the hypocrisy of religion. His actions are extremely self-centered and nearsighted. After causing the death of the main character's mother, who is a gypsy, he banishes the boy to the bell tower, believing him to be some kind of demon. And yet, even after showing his hate for gypsies, he falls in love with one, and in a haunting song entitled Hellfire, he states that if he cannot have her, she'll be banished to the fires of hell. Pretty despicable for a man whose hat looks like a donut. Number 2. Cobra Kai from the Karate Kid series. While the past entries of this list are single despicable individuals, this one is an entire team of them. Led by ex-Special Forces veteran John Kreese, the Cobra Kai Dojo is a no-nonsense martial arts school specializing in the very unethical and vicious forms of combat. The main antagonist, Johnny Lawrence, is a student from the school and uses his abilities to pick on the weak and instill fear in anyone that might cross him. Though, of course, it doesn't always work, as the main point of the Karate Kid series points out pretty plainly. But these are some bad dudes who don't care about anyone but their own power. And the number 1 most hateable villain in cinema is... Luther from the Warriors. Now you might be thinking, how could one guy from a cult movie beat out an entire evil martial arts team? And the answer is simple. If it weren't for Luther, the entire world and the Warriors would be a better place. The entire conflict starts when he shoots the leader of the Gramercy Rifts, Cyrus, who had brought together all the gangs in New York to set up a truce among them. Luther then blames the assassination on the Warriors gang, causing them to be hunted down by the gangs in New York.
He shot Cyrus!
Man, you're crazy. I didn't do nothing.
We saw him! Yeah, that's him.
Which Cyrus had pointed out was about 60,000 people. And not only do they cause them to be chased down, him and his gang, the Rogues, follow them the entire way, waiting until they are home and worn out and beat up to finally call them out. He's the ultimate evil character because, at the end, he gets the ultimate comeuppance at the hands of the Rifts. And one thing I have to note, this character would not nearly be as good if it weren't played by David Patrick Kelly, who is also known for similar roles in 48 Hours and Commando. I love this guy, but take one look at his face and tell me you don't want to knock his teeth out. This has been Zach's Top 10, and I hope you enjoyed.